And I mean, and you're absolutely right. They got the pieces where it should just be, yes, we're in a rebuilding stage, but we have some excellent talent. That's
Just let
really
this run.
I mean, and I think everybody sees that, but it's still like, no, we're, Barcelona. Like we don't rebuild, we reload. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So the
All right,
difference.
man. Let's go and jump in this Champions League, man. We let's go to this handball thing before we jump into the meat of it. Jumping into Sancho not coming to Man U. It looks like it's looking real desperate right now. But
Yeah, man. Bail out City, man. Handing
yeah,
out bail.
like
Bill
so
Bondsman was out.
now I will say this: our handball I feel was a legit handball though. Because he looked like he was actually swatting at the ball to actually stop it from like the
It was
momentum.
an incredible lapse in judgment by that
Yeah,
guy,
like and he didn't even really argue. He was more shocked that like they really called it in the game. I think like he was like, "Oh snap, y'all really gonna do it?"
And I looked at his reaction more like, I can't believe they caught me. Like, yeah, like I absolutely did it, and they caught me. Like, damn, why did I do that? I know they got me. You know
But
what I mean?
every other handball I've seen these last few games, except for that one, have been ridiculously not at all. Like,
Well, I mean, I think that's where you start slicing and dicing this thing and really having to take a deep dive. Because, like, I think you said something here that was important right out of the gate. Unnatural hand movement. He moved in a swatting motion towards the ball. So that's always been the thing, ever since like I started playing the
that's
game.
what I always thought it was. It was like if you're like,
I always knew what the letter of the law was, but it was always this asterisk as long as it's not an unnatural hand movement. I mean, you look at like Diego Maradona and like that famous the hand to God goal that he's so famous for. That was a handball. He scored
yeah,
with his hand, faked it out, but like of course this is like what 76, 74. So
nobody got.
you got one grainy replay. That was it. You know what
And
I
I ain't
mean?
even a replay. They can't replay it. It was it's the call on the field.
And that game was like in Argentina or somewhere.
Yeah,
So, it's
yeah.
like,
What ref gonna not call it? You gonna get out?
oh,
You
he
gonna,
wouldn't have made it out of there alive. No way, no
you can't
how.
get mad. That man welfare and his family was up
Yeah.
for grabs.
Oh, if he tries to take that goal away, he's rolling the dice with his life getting out of there. That's a fact.
Not even his life, his family.
Oh yeah. It will go that deep. You're absolutely right. So I mean, the unnatural hand movement, I think that's another layer because now it's so much interpretation.
Because now, what if I spin and I'm trying to block and it hits my hand on my back? Is that a handball now? Like,
You know, every game, every sport, changes with every generation, just on how things are done. And I just remember being taught, in pee wee soccer and high school soccer, like when you're defending, you want your hands at your side,
yeah,
ideally almost like behind your back, like making it obvious that you're trying to control your hands, keep them by your side as much as possible. But I mean, depending on also another factor and layer to unpeel on this onion is people used to talk about the distance of a handball. Meaning if you're closer to me, I have less time to react versus how I'm reacting from the ball coming from a longer distance. So, now you got two things to interpret when trying to determine is this a
yeah.
handball or not. Did you even have enough time? Is your body in an unnatural shape? It's kind of like in basketball. When a guy would get hit with a really hard offensive foul, they would say, like throwing a punch, that's not a basketball move. So
Right.
now like when you're playing soccer and the ball is coming at you in a defensive position, are you in a soccer playing move or is your hand up? Are you, swiping down? That's not a natural soccer movement, is it? But whose
No.
interpretation is that? So it's complicated, man. What do you think?
So I mean, it's a bad. I mean, I think it's got to be intent. But maybe it's a thing of they're saying it's hard to judge intent. So we just gonna
Absolutely.
go across the board and just is what it is, just so we don't even have to even discuss intent because refs are going to the VAR and they're just seeing if it's a handball period and turning it right back around. They're not even looking for intent. They're just seeing, oh, is it a handball or not? Then we turn like it, by the time you sitting there talking about it, thinking about it through a text message, you like, it's already been discussed. By the time you send it, like, man, is that a handball, you think? It's already decided.
Did you see that Crystal Palace game? The defender, it was within literally a 10-minute gap. The first time I would say the ball struck his hand. I felt like his hand was in a soccer playing position and the ball hit him. And it was so fast, there was not enough time for him to get out of the way or even move, rotate his hips or anything. I mean, it was a bang-bang sort of situation. And the ref went over, like you said, to VAR. He looked at that. He saw it clearly touched him, but I think your intention, comes into play. He ruled on intention there, and they let that ride. But literally within 10 minutes, a similar scenario happened to the same defender, unfortunately. It was like, lightning striking twice.
Yeah, it's like, I can't help you out twice.
And the soccer gods came down hard on them that time. And, I mean, they went, and it was incredible, man.
Yeah, and it was something interesting you said before we got on, man. You think that players are going to start using this as an actual tactic?
I think you have to. I mean, there is no strategy that's off limit within the rules of the game, right?
Yeah.
And if they don't, start next season and clearly redefine this handball, rule, I think you will see a strategy where a guy's, in a part of the box, in the 18-yard box at an angle where he has absolutely no chance of scoring whatsoever. It's really not a threat, to attack you. But what he'll do is, strategically strike the ball at that defender's arms while that defender's in the box. I mean, if it's the letter of the law without this intent, without some discretion being involved, I mean, I think that's going to be a new strategy on how you score goals. I think you almost have to.
Do you think that UEFA is doing this to increase the amount of goals with the penalty shots? Like, it was like, man, we kind of want this offense to get some higher scoring games, it's a little bit more exciting, these penalties, because the penalties have been ridiculous. Like lately, we talked about this before, but now the handball, we were talking about just penalties, an actual penalty. Now you're adding in handball to the already just general pulling somebody down on a penalty.
Yeah.
You're going to have games 5-4.
Yeah, you really will, man. It's changing the game, and I've been listening to, Sky Sports, to some ex-players, some of these older guys, and they're just saying, man, it's hard to watch this game. It's not the game that they grew up on. It's not the game that they played. And I think really what you have is the old world and the new world meeting. This VAR, the technology, the original, letters of the law, the original rules weren't accounting for VAR. It was given a lot of discretion and a lot of gray area, for the referee to really rule and to lean on his assistants more. You don't see assistants jumping out there and waving their flag very much, pointing out things to the referee. They're almost letting VAR do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, with offsides. Like they told them that I was listening to a podcast. They said they told them don't put the flag for offside, let it go, and then we'll figure it out on the back end.
If it's close, right? Yeah. Don't interrupt the play. So even that's something different. But I remember like growing up too, just in the 90s and the early 2000s, seeing the linesman seeing a foul off the ball that the referee didn't see and waving his flag, getting the referee's attention. The referee would blow the whistle, and then he go talk to the linesman. The linesman say, I saw D. Fry doing, X, Y, and Z away from the ball. And you know what I mean? He would rule accordingly for that. So it's just a different game now, man. And I think everybody's adapting in real time.
Is that going to be a FIFA rule, you think, or is that just because it's going to be? Is that just UEFA?
I think no. I think FIFA has to come down because, even for like your World Cup, this is going to be a huge issue if a World Cup game or World Cup.
Imagine what's going to happen in the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, talk about bad publicity. So I think you have to have this figured out and nailed down very clear on what the rule is.
Yeah, it's getting. It's just, oh man, some of those get I really, I mean, I'm not the biggest Spurs guy, but I feel bad for them today, man. I mean, the other day, was that today? Yes,
it was today.
Today, yeah, the way that went down, I was like, wow. Yeah, I mean.
And I saw Mourinho, his post game.
Hey, that dude went back. He went to the back. Like 10 minutes left. It was like 10 minutes left in the game still. He was like, I'm out, man. I'm out, dude.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. I thought he was kind of clever. He said they started asking him, well, what do you think about the call at the end of the game there? He says, if I want to give away my money, I give my money to charity. So it's like I don't say anything here, so the league, won't find me. You know what I mean? So he
Hey,
already felt that. He was hot.
what's the homeboy from the Seattle Seahawks? I'm only here, Marshawn Lynch.
Oh,
I'm only here because they making me.
yeah.
I'm only here because I don't want to get fined. Like,
Oh man, yeah, that was classic.
yeah, it was like, so. I mean, interesting how this season's gonna go with it, man. I need to look and see if the other leagues are having these issues with handballs, or this been more of a Premier League thing. I've been seeing a lot more penalty shots though. Like looking in the box score for games, in general. So I don't know. I just don't know what these PKs are coming from. But I'm like, man, every game has like 3 PKs now, 2 on one team, 1 on the other.
It does, man. The game just has like a different rhythm, a different cadence to it. Even like, I mean, just from the fan perspective, not necessarily the game as you see it on the field, but just like when a goal is scored, you almost don't want to react and get too hyped because it needs to be reviewed. You don't know. They're going to look at the reverse angle. I mean, are we judging, by a guy's shoulder, by eyelash?
Is he offside by a shoulder, or like is it got to be his foot over the line?